Hi, this is Tim from fittatmidlife.com. Today, I've got the Adidas Power Perfect 3 weightlifting shoe. We're going to compare it to the Adidas Powerlift 4 shoe. Both are budget weightlifting shoes from Adidas, but how do they compare to the big dollar shoes like the Adipower II, the Romaleos 4, or the Reebok Legacy Lifter? We're going to cover that too, so stick around. All right, let's start by taking a look at the Adidas Power Perfect 3. So this is a budget weightlifting shoe from Adidas. I say budget because this can be had for about $100 or less. It is a weightlifting shoe. You can see there's a very tall heel raise, and more specifically, there's a 0.75 inch or 19 millimeter heel to toe drop. That means your heel is 19 millimeters higher than your toes in this shoe. That means it is a helpful shoe when you're in the squat position, when you're lowering into picking the barbell up off the floor. All the exercises that start from the floor and those sorts of things benefit from that raised heel and also this very solid heel. So it's not only raised, it's also very solid. Why? Efficient power transfer, right? You can basically explode, transfer force through your foot, through the shoe to the floor without any of it wasting away in any sort of mushy foam or anything like that. That's the basic reason you would even want a weightlifting shoe. So this is a 19 millimeter heel to toe drop. Men's size 11, weighs 18.2 ounces. So it's on the lighter side for a weightlifting shoe. Let's look at the outsole. So this is what Adidas calls their long-lasting Adiwear outsole. It is rubber. It is quite firm, very firm. Will probably be very durable as well because there's just, you know, it's a hard rubber, will last longer than a softer, grippier rubber, all things considered. This feels pretty durable. Haven't had these too long, as you can tell by looking at the outsole. You know, there's a few smudges here and there, but I haven't used these too much. So I'm not sure how long they'll last over time, but you might be able to see too that that bottommost layer is pretty thick. So it goes up to right about where that black rectangle is, it looks like. So nice thick layer on the bottom, shouldn't wear away too quickly or anything like that. Other features here, it's very flat, of course, you know, maximum contact area with the floor. This isn't meant for outdoors use or running or in the mud or anything like that, and it's got some interesting design components here, the hexagonal design and, of course, the Adidas logo. So looking around the side, you can see it is a synthetic upper. It is kind of this faux leather material and textile, so cloth right up here. This is a cloth style upper, pretty pliable, not super thick, but it's, I wouldn't call this a lightweight cloth upper either. It's double layered and it's fairly thick. By the way, this this style of shoe, the way this is built, this is called derby construction. So basically, because you have this piece here and this piece and that separate piece, it's a derby style shoe. Not that it particularly matters here. Regular laces. You've got the strap, of course, so hook and loop, Velcro strap at the top, and there is a tongue that is medium, middle of the road as far as padding, right? It's not crazy padded, but not too thin either. And that can be a good thing, right? Because you're going to tighten those laces down. That'll help you from getting lace bite. And the strap, of course, will help you get a further locked-in fit and feel with the shoe. Take a look at the heel around the back. You've got an Achilles pad that comes up. There's a stiff plastic cup right from about there on down. So, you know, as you would expect in a weightlifting shoe, very firm heel cup in there so that the shoe keeps its shape when you're under heavy weights and things like that. And these have some lateral stability, but as we'll see, the outsole itself is not super wide, and this material on the sides isn't super thick either. So I would say this is middle of the road as far as lateral support in a weightlifting shoe, and we'll compare this to some other shoes shortly. Other features here we can just see around the front. There's that textile upper, again, fairly pliable. You can see there's some sort of a rubber wrap up here. And they say that the collar has an air mesh design for breathability. So I'm not entirely sure what that means, but you know, this is cloth and this is kind of that faux leather. So I don't know how breathable the collar would be, but I guess that's this mesh part right here. So how do these fit? True to size. This is a men's size 11, fits me fine. That's not a wide shoe. It is acceptable for me. 11 is the size I wear in running shoes, or most every running shoe. The width is good in the toe area. The length is fine, and they're pretty comfortable. So these are not bad. I got to be honest. For $100, not a bad shoe at all. If you have really wide feet, though, these might be too tight. But I did not need to size up or anything like that in these shoes. All right, here's our other budget weightlifting shoe from Adidas. So this is the Powerlift 4. This is also a basic weightlifting shoe. So you can see there is a heel raise there. Again, you want your heel higher than your toes, minimizes the ankle flexibility that you need to get in the squatting position, and that solid heel and midsole makes it easier to lift explosively and all the lifts. The squatting, these help when squatting as well, even if you're not doing those explosively, just not wasting away energy in a mushy foam and not having your feet kind of move around under the weight is a huge benefit. These are not as much heel to toe drop as the Power Perfect 3. So the Powerlift 4s, this is 0.6 of an inch, 0.6 or 15 millimeters. So there is less material here in the heel for that. Consequently, this is also one of the lightest weightlifting shoes that I've tested. Again, men's size 11, this weighs just under 16 ounces. So that is lightweight for a weightlifting shoe. If we look at the outsole, looks very similar, very familiar compared to the Power Perfect 3. We've got that Adipower outsole, as I call it, and you can see that hexagonal pattern, the Adidas logo, very flat, maximum contact area. And around the front in the upper, you can see this upper is pure textile. So the entire shoe is cloth, none of that faux leather. And consequently, this shoe has a little more pliability in it as compared to the Power Perfect 3. But you can see it has a pull tab on the heel, makes these easier to put on and off. These, by the way, these are like a special Tokyo edition, if you're wondering why it's got the Japanese flag on there and things like that. And you can see it says Powerlift. That looks nice. I like the color. You've got an Achilles pad that comes up pretty high, and on the inside in these, you do have a removable insole. So the insole in the other shoe seems to be glued in, so I didn't remove it. Tiny, teensy tiny bit of padding in this insole, not very much, right? This is very thin. And once you've taken that out, you can see this is very, very, very solid from there on down. So delivers on what you would expect in a weightlifting shoe in that it gives you a solid foundation. We've got a single hook and loop Velcro strap up here at the top, works nice, and you can see regular laces, of course. So this one also true to size. Men's size 11 fits me fine, the length and the width. And, you know, again, it's not a wide shoe though, so if you have wide feet, it probably won't work for you. You'd have to size up. But for me, I would say it fits me perfect. The heel feels good. It's got a plastic heel cup in there. It starts about right there and wraps around the sides, again, because you don't want the shoe kind of losing its shape as you're lifting heavy, and it's the kind of stuff you expect in a weightlifting shoe. They actually describe this upper as being canvas, and you can see, I think, that it is you know, basically a pretty thick cloth material, but also pretty pliable as well. I would not call it a mesh though. It's definitely like a pretty tightly woven fabric canvas. And you can see that the collar's got a decent amount of cushioning. The tongue, middle of the road, it's not paper thin, but it's not a real thick, luxurious tongue either. So that's the Powerlift 4. Okay, so now let's line them up. Let's compare. So how would you pick if you want a budget Adidas weightlifting shoe? How would you pick between the two? Well, remember we said the heel-to-toe drop is different in both shoes. So while they're using a similar outsole, right, Adiwear outsole, you can see, I think in this view, the actual difference in the heel raise. So this heel comes up higher. So there's white material here, then there's this blue material, and it's all sort of pinkish red here. But this is higher, taller heel. Again, this is a 19 millimeter heel to toe drop. This is a lesser 15 millimeter heel to toe drop. By the way, this is one of the smallest heel to toe drops you can get in a weightlifting shoe on the Powerlift 4. So if you don't want a gigantic heel raise, this is probably your shoe. I can say that pretty confidently. Beyond that, the width is the same. The upper materials, I think the cloth canvas upper here actually looks nicer, but it is, to me, it feels more pliable. And to me, this shoe lacks a little bit in the lateral stability. You get a little bit more in this shoe, in the Power Perfect 3, although I would not say this shoe has a lot of lateral stability. And we'll talk about that more when we compare it to some other shoes. But this upper is softer, more pliable, feels more comfortable, but at the same time, you don't get as much lateral stability in the Powerlift 4. So heel to toe drop is one thing. The amount of lateral stability is another thing. You know, beyond that, they're both single strap. The Powerlift 4, it's down a little bit lower. I like that better. It's a little more towards the middle. You know, usually you tighten the laces and you can tighten up the top part of the shoe. It's really where the strap helps is further down or down here. And quite frankly, I prefer shoes that have two straps, not just one. But both have a single strap. And both are comfortable, true to size, fit well. Neither is excessively heavy, and they're both pretty affordable. So not bad shoes for weightlifting. But what we'll do now, let's compare them to some of the bigger dollar shoes, and let's see, what do you really miss? All right, so now let's compare to the Adipower II. So this is a premium weightlifting shoe from Adidas, and I say premium because it costs $200. So if you look at the Adipower II, you know, a lot of things look similar here. You've got the outsole, all rubber, very flat. You do have a larger heel to toe drop, heel raise in the Adipower II, so it's 20 millimeters. And but you do see the cloth textile upper. Pull tab on the heel. single strap kind of a little bit further down. So first comparison, let's look at it right lined up with the Powerlift 4 because there's a lot of similarities there. So you'll see that the both look kind of narrow, but this one is really narrow. So the Adipower II, so this is actually a size 11. It's actually not enough width for me to really even wear this, especially down here in the toe area. It's just uncomfortably tight in a size 11. So I should have sized up, but then I think the shoe would be too long because quite frankly, it's almost a little bit too long for me right now. So kind of weird sizing in the Adipower II. But be aware of that. Not a shoe if you have narrow feet, or excuse me, wide feet. And I would say unless you have unusually narrow feet, this one's going to be a bit of a weird fit. Otherwise, you know, look at the similarities. You've got the midfoot strap, you've got the cloth upper, regular laces, pull tab on the heel. The heel to toe drop is different, of course, but there's just a lot of similarities here, except this is $200 and this is $100. Flexibility wise, you can see that the Adipower II has extreme forefoot flexibility. I'm having to press down much harder on the Powerlift 4 to get it to flex. This is the most flexible weightlifting shoe in the forefoot. So you can see that kind of very thin forefoot, and there's just not a lot of material there, right? So it's very flexy. The upper is also quite pliable. You know, not unlike this shoe, this is also very pliable, right? But it has this so much more material up front that this one doesn't have the same amount of flexibility. So if that helps you to visualize it, like there's just less here than over here on the Powerlift 4. So really, you know, I'm kind of at a loss as to like who would want this $200 Adipower II, because it's very narrow. It's kind of got weird sizing, but also this shoe does not really have real good lateral stability at all either, because it's got this soft pliable upper. There's a heel cup in here, just like in the Powerlift 4, but the sides don't offer a whole lot of stability, and really the upper and the entire shoe itself just doesn't have the stability of some of the other big dollar weightlifting shoes. So really, you know, I think I like the Powerlift 4 better than the Adipower II. Honestly, it is much cheaper and it works just as well. It works better in my case. So that's with the Powerlift 4. Let's look at Power Perfect 3. So Power Perfect 3, again, the heel to toe drop is 19 millimeters. It's 20 millimeters in the Adipower 2. You've got the synthetic upper, faux leather, derby design, kind of a mesh upper to it. The Power Perfect, not a flexible shoe, right? Lots of material up here in the front versus very little here. However, this one runs true to size and fits me quite well. Has better lateral stability than this shoe, but not by too much. So this doesn't have a ton of lateral support. We can see that the Adipower II is a slightly wider heel, but it's almost not enough to even count, to be honest. It's just barely wider. So again, I think you're going to be driven by the budget and the amount of heel to toe drop that you're looking for, and that assumes that the oddly sized Adipower II is even going to fit you properly, right? That's the biggest indicator there. Thin and easy to kind of manipulate. This is much thicker, much stiffer, and as we kind of look around the upper and the sides, there's just a lot more layered materials here that makes for a much more stable shoe side to side. The other thing is dual straps, right? So one at the top, one at the bottom. I mentioned earlier, I feel like the strap does the most for you either at the midpoint or the lower part. So having two is preferable in my opinion, because you know I can tighten the top with the laces. Where I really need it is down about exactly here where the Romaleos 4 has the strap. So points in the win column for the Romaleos 4 for having two straps. The heel to toe drop on the Romaleos, this is 20 millimeters. This is a heavier shoe, It weighs in at 22 ounces. There's just a lot more material to it. And you'll notice on the outsole too, so if you look at this, it's just kind of got a cooler, funkier design. It's got this hollowed out area, but still has plenty of grip and traction, by the way. There's no shortage of traction in the Romaleos 4. Perhaps most importantly though, the width. There's a lot more width in the heel of the Romaleos 4. So you see that part that sticks out. And that just makes for outstanding lateral stability in the Romaleos 4, right? That very wide base, significantly wider than what's on the Powerlift, makes this a very stable shoe laterally. Also, like this material, so there's layered materials here. There's a heel cup that goes up to here and it kind of goes around, and then you've got this piece which is very stiff supplementing this material, right? There's just layers upon layers upon layers. This is a very stable shoe in lateral stability, lacking in the Powerlift 4, certainly when you compare them side to side. So, you know, the big thing is, though, of course, this is a $200 shoe versus a $100 or so shoe. The Romaleos 4 does not run true to size. This is an 11.5. It's a little narrow for me on my regular sizing, so I went 1/2 size up to get adequate width, and an 11.5 works great for me in the Romaleos 4. So overall, between these two, I mean, the heel to toe drop, it's quite a difference as well, right? Because the Romaleos 4 is a 20 millimeter heel to toe drop. The Powerlift 4 is only a 15 millimeter heel to toe drop. So you're giving up 5 millimeters of heel to toe drop, right? And that is one of the big reasons for wearing a weightlifting shoe, is that heel raise. My personal pick, I like the Romaleos 4 of this lineup. If you've got the budget, it's just that much more stable side to side. To me, it makes a big difference when you're under heavy weight and you're squatting down. I like the much more secure, planted feeling that you get in the Romaleos. And for me, in all other aspects, it's adequate or better, including the two straps. And I like the looks. I know this is too flashy for some people. They don't like the big swoosh and all that. But to me, this is an awesome looking shoe, and I really love what they did with the this design here on the heel and stuff like that. So winner in this lineup, in my opinion, is the Romaleos 4, but it is a much more expensive shoe. So similarly, when we compare to the Power Perfect 3, you know, we got the width is not, right? The width on the Power Perfect 3 is more or less identical to the Powerlift 4. So you can see the Nike is, the Romaleos is much wider, much better lateral support. This has different materials. It's got that faux leather, but this doesn't really give the lateral stability either in the heel or in the upper like the Romaleos 4 does. Single strap. So again, I've already given you my thoughts on that. It's up high. It's at the point where it does the least for me. I much prefer have the straps further down or have two, even better. And heel to toe drop, 19 millimeters for the Power Perfect 3, 20 millimeters for the Romaleos 4. How do you decide between the two? Well, you know, again, it's the heel to toe drop is pretty spot on. It's really going to turn into, do you want the lateral stability, and do you have the budget for, you know, a $200 pair of shoes, in my opinion. Okay, one more comparison. So how does the Reebok Legacy Lifter compare to these shoes? Well, again, this is another premium shoe at $200, but you can probably see already it's got all the stuff I love, right? Rubber, very flat, high contact area outsole, 22 millimeter heel to toe drop in the Reebok Legacy Lifter. So if you want lots of heel to toe drop, this is the shoe to get. You can see the outsole is, the heel is wide and kind of flares out. You can see significantly wider, noticeably wider than the Powerlift 4. And you also see that again, the layered materials, just like in the Romaleos. So you've got cloth, but then you've got kind of this cage thing that helps add rigidity side to side. So the lateral stability with the heel and the layered materials in the upper makes us feel more stable, right? Gives you a nice rooted to the ground kind of feeling. The other things I like about the Legacy Lifter, it's got an upper that is, it's okay. It's busy looking to me, if that matters to you. Like there's 2 straps, which I like, of course, that's great. But then there's all these other things, and then the flex weave. And overall, it's very supportive. Just looks a little bit busy aesthetically. This is also the heaviest of the shoes. So this weighs in at 23 ounces. Very heavy in the heel as well. So when you pick this thing up, you can feel that the weight balance, it's biased towards the heel of the shoe. Not that that matters, but it's definitely something you can feel. So Legacy Lifter, 22 millimeter heel to toe drop. Powerlift 4, a mere 15 millimeters heel to toe drop, right? Remember that. So you can see, I think you can see here visually, hard to tell where the heel starts and begins, but you know, much more heel to toe drop in the Legacy Lifter, minimal in the Powerlift. Powerlift is of course much lighter, at only 15.9 ounces. Let's look at the Power Perfect 3. So Power Perfect 3, the heel to toe drop again, 19 millimeters versus 22, but you can see the width, right? So it looks like it's still definitely the Reebok is wider. It gives you that better feeling, better lateral support, and of course you have single strap way at the top versus 2 straps here. Again, though, this is a $200 shoe. This is a $100 shoe. So, you know, it's like, what do you have the budget for? That's going to be part of your deciding factor. By the way, the Reebok Legacy Lifter runs true to size. In my opinion, men's size 11 fits me just fine. Didn't have to go up or down or anything like that, as does the Power Perfect 3. Okay, so that's our review of the Adidas Powerlift 4 weightlifting shoe and the Adidas Power Perfect 3 weightlifting shoe. So these are budget weightlifting shoes in that they're only about $100. The Powerlift 4 has a 15 millimeter heel to toe drop. So if you're looking for a weightlifting shoe with a minimal heel raise but still has the solid heel, this might be a good option for you. The Power Perfect 3 has a 19 millimeter heel to toe drop, which is more in line with what you would expect from the average weightlifting shoe. Both are true to size. They are perfectly comfortable and fine, and they work as weightlifting shoes. They don't offer the lateral stability that some of the more expensive shoes like the Reebok Legacy Lifter or the Nike Romaleos 4 do, but overall these are completely adequate for weightlifting and a nice budget option. So if this was helpful information, please like, please subscribe. We post new shoe reviews regularly. Thank you. Have a good day.